Jan is here to tell us the story of how to build a brand and her ambitions for future development. Jan Constantine, director of Jan Constantine.
I'm known for my hand-embroidered textiles. I'm just going to briefly go through my history, where I come from, etc. And then at the end, we can have a few questions. I come from Lancashire, which is the home of textiles. And I'm from a family of needlewomen. My granny was a dressmaker and a milliner, and my mum was a tailoress. And so when I was a little girl, my mum made everything I wore, and all the other children in the family as well, and taught me how to do knitting, sewing, embroidery. This little dress was one my mum made. And when I was about 6, they bought me a sewing machine, and I used to make all my dolls' clothes. So from when I was about 10, I made everything that I wore, and I wanted to be a fashion designer. So that's what I did. So I went to art college, did a fashion course, and once I graduated, I did a year in Manchester for a small company where I learned to do everything, really. And then I got a job in London. I always wanted to go to London. So that's what I did. And I worked for Schubert of London for quite a number of years. And while there, I was a junior designer initially, and then I became head designer of the young departments, and then I became design director of the Miss Durant section. So it was a great life, great job, traveling a lot, very, very busy. I was married at the time, still am, and I always knew that I would never really be able to have children in that kind of a job because it was just so hectic. And also at the time, I really wanted to go and live in greenfields. So we went to visit my sister in Cheshire, who's a farmer's wife, and in the local paper, they're my fashion days. In the local paper, we saw this wreck of a house, and it was coming up for auction. And within a week, we'd bought it. There's nothing like naivety for doing something. I think quite often, if you do things while you're quite naive, it's the best time, because you'd never do it otherwise. Anyway, we were in it within 4 weeks, and I had to commute for 18 months to bring the money in. I then started to do interiors and built a business doing interiors. And I was also traveling up and down to London. I had a family as well. This is the dream. And the family are growing up now. And while I was doing all the interiors and traveling up and down to London doing styling, I used to make lots of presents for people for birthdays and Christmas. And all my friends and family used to say to me, "You should go into business. Why don't you do that?" Because I was making cushions and things like that. And so I decided I'd go back to my love of embroidery, which is what I used to do on the fashion. I have another sister, Elaine, this is her, and she gave me £10,000 to start off my business in 2002. And that's what I did. I started stitching around the kitchen table with friends, but gradually realized I was going to have to really step up and do something a bit bigger. So then I started to go to India to find embroiderers. My collections quite often incorporate the heart and the word love, and I'm known for this. So I started off with these very pale silks and cottons and linens, and I launched my first collection at Spirit of Christmas in 2002, here. With Clarion. So I have to say, it wasn't a great launch. I mean, I did cry on the second night because it was just so disappointing because I didn't do that well. I mean, it was great for a launch because it gave me something to go for. It gave me a deadline to have everything ready by. But I only got the stock in the day before, and there was an ice skating ring in front of the stand, and it all melted. So the day before, it was a bit of a nightmare. But anyway, we got over it. And after the event, I picked myself up and carried on, did more designs, started to use the gingham. The word love was always around. And then I did a trade fair, which was great. And again, it was here. at Clarion. I did top drawer, and I think it was 2003. And the first big store in London that bought from me was Fortnum and Mason, and it was amazing. She came on the stand and gave me an order, and when I said, "Where have you come from? Where are you from?" she said, "Fortnum and Mason." I nearly died. It was like, wow. In 2005, I did my very first Union Jack designs, and they are the gingham ones. I did these because I was so influenced by the day that London won the bid for the Olympic Games. I just became so patriotic. I was just so thrilled and excited. I just wanted to be a part of it all. So I did this, and it went really, really well. So I thought, right, I could afford more fabric, more colours by now. So I decided I would do the Union Jack in all sorts of bright colours. I had a bit of adversity from my girls in the office because they were saying to me, "You can't do the Union Jack, you can't do it." Because at the time, the Union Jack had been hijacked by a certain political party. And I decided I would just slap the heart bang in the middle, and that dispelled all the negativity, and it worked. And from that, I then created lots more Britishness, and I went absolutely mad. And nearly everything I did at the time was like a British thing, and quite often still is. And I just loved it, and everyone else loved it as well, and it seemed to open the doors for everyone else to do it. At the time, I did my first book, Heirloom Embroidery, which went down very well, with Jackie Small, and also my very first license. Now, when you're building a brand, or when I started to build my brand, I didn't realise it at the time, but partnerships are a huge side of this. And in fact, I would say there are 3 things that help you to build a brand, if that's what you intend to do. And for me, it's number 1, your product. Your product has to be right. People have to like it, and you have to be able to produce it and deliver it. And number 2, the partnerships are fantastic. If you start to partner with other companies, that's brilliant. And number 3, the press. The press have always loved my products, and you'll see later a few front covers, etc., over the years. But basically, the press have loved my product, I think, because I give them good photography to use, and they say it jumps off the page. So I think that's really important. If you've got a product, you must get a great photographer to show it off properly. Once I started licensing, the Olympic Games was coming near, and I decided I would like to be a part of it. Now, this was something I was really so excited to do, but I think it was probably the biggest mistake of my life, or of my business life anyway. We launched it, and it was great, but the cost of it to a small business like mine was colossal, and I'm still, feeling the brunt of it even now. But having said that, the Olympics themselves were amazing, and we all went to the events. We had a wonderful time. And since then, my brand has been recognised abroad because I was with the Olympics. And at the time, I had so much press and publicity that it was fantastic. So there's a positive and there's a negative to that. And as time goes by, it's getting more positive, so that's good. Other things that I partnershiped with are greetings cards with Firebrand. I did stationery with Blueprint, Penny Kennedy gift wrap. I launched a second book with Jackie Small. This is Jackie Small here and Rosalind Howells at Fortnum and Mason, where we did a press launch. This is another collaboration we did with Fortnum's. We're still in Fortnum's after all these years. Mad for Tea. We do lots of patriotic and royal type products, and that's what we're known for. This is another London collection. We always do a great Christmas collection that's always very well received. That was the Alpine one. Press, front covers, always been so lucky to have my things on so many front covers. Here's just a few examples. Japanese magazine there, which went down very well in Japan. More recent things, Pim's collaboration. That's a collaboration I did with Liz Earle at Christmas. my blue collection, a collaboration with Ulster Weavers on my blue collection, and with Disaster Designs. Christmas, dogs, tattoo, new collection coming out soon with Otter House, new stationery collection. For the future, we're looking really towards the east. And we've been there a couple of times last year. We went to Japan, which is obviously the gateway to the east, and we did very, very well there. We went in March on a trade mission, and then we were invited back to the Hankyu department store by Mr. Kuwahara, and that was phenomenal. And then we will be going again in about 3 weeks' time. So for us, the whole Eastman thing seems to be growing, which is fantastic. And the other thing that I'd really love to do in the future is get involved with fashion. But to do that, I need some investment. So if there are any investors here, I'd love to meet you. All right, so if anyone would like to ask any questions, that's the story of me, but I've probably missed out lots. Thank you.